They send the big guy, Jonathan Williams, into the end zone for a touchdown. Makes a man miss. Williams, touchdown. It's very depressing for a defense just to get hit in the mouth time after time. Cuts it outside. 10-5, touchdown. Dives for the goal line, touchdown. Touchdown on the scramble, Brandon Allen to the 5, to the goal line, touchdown. Alex Collins on the draw, breaks through tacklers, and he's off to the races. 30, 20, 10, slows up, and got the touchdown anyway. They are just starting to swallow up the Texas Tech defensive line, and they're running wherever and whenever they want.
It was incredible Saturday for Arkansas. Throwing the ball, by the way, they had just 61 passing yards. That number is 7 less than the total number of rush attempts. They ran it 68 times on Saturday. 40 of their rushes went for at least 5 yards. The head coach, Brett Bielema, on Monday reminding everybody he never said a turnaround here would be easy.
I knew coming here what I was getting into, whether it was to the extent or whatever. I freely took that opportunity. That's something I made a decision to do. The people that didn't willingly go into it were fans, were players, people that were part of this process, not by their own choice or really their own decisions. You know, when I made the opportunity or made the decision to come here, I really did look at the fact that the players, I thought, would really buy into the fact that they really weren't a part of what maybe caused this initial reaction. You know, obviously the reaction or the actions of one man kind of spiraled that first thing. And yes, then they're all a part of it, but I guess to go where I'm going with it, it's fun to see, you know, to fly back on that plane and to watch my coaches and our players and have an understanding of what you really just saw and witnessed was the results of what we have done. You know, I talk about our fifth Arkansas edge to be that you earn everything. I mean, you really felt, and you could see it in our players' eyes, that they really felt they earned that by what they had done and what they had accomplished. I know you guys think I'm throwing out coach speak and rhetoric. I saw things coming. I mean, I know what we're doing. I know how we need to do it. I know the way that we have to do it. But I tell you what, last night I was driving home, and I always listen to Sirius XM college football radio, just because it's always got football on, you know. And if it's not during the summer and I'm in my Jeep and I got tunes going, I'm usually listening to that. And I'm driving home last night, and obviously it's a delayed broadcast because it's late evening, and they got on Russ from Fayetteville. I don't know who Russ from Fayetteville is, but he was awesome. It was just awesome. It was to hear. You know, I've been listening now to that show for a year and a half, and I'm not saying we're on the stage yet or anything like that, but to have something, to have that, and you know, I actually sat in my car and waited for it to get done because I enjoyed listening to it, and they were having some fun with it, and so I turned my car off, and I get up early this morning, and I pop on my car, and literally I'm pulling out, and it's another guy from Fayetteville. I don't know who it was, but it was a Hog fan, and he was woo-pigging at very early hour this morning, and to have that, go to bed and have it wake up, and to have that be a part of what's going on, I mean, that was kind of cool. I think I'm being mislabeled. Okay, this goes way back to Wisconsin, all right? Before I was even coaching there was a guy by the name of Ron Dane. He ran the ball a lot. He was one of the leading rushers in college football. So when I took over Coach Alvarez, everybody wanted me to be, you know, Barry Alvarez, and wanted me to, you know, find the next Ron Dane. Well, we effectively did that a lot, more than not. But our most productive teams, if you go back and look at the history of my coaching career, was when we had a balance between a 220, somewhere in that 200 to 220 yard rushing and throwing team. It's an incredible mark. I believe you win over 85% of college football games if you can get above 215 throwing and passing over the course of time. And if you just look at that statistic, it's something I really, really believe in. Now, I do believe this, Tom, for us to do what we did at Texas Tech, that was the formula. That was the formula that we needed to win on the road against an up-tempo offense that could score the way they could score. That formula isn't going to work this week. I've been referring to it as the best-kept secret in Fayetteville. I mean, I think statistically, I know the numbers may not be there on par with what appear just quantitative totals, but the percentage, I always look for efficiency. I I don't really care about numbers. I love the fact we ran the ball 68 times, but if we didn't run the ball 68 times efficiently, we wouldn't have won the game. To me, the efficiency is the equation, and our passing efficiency is very, very good. I thought both of them showed great condition. You know, we nominated both of them for SEC MVP. I couldn't. How do you decide? Jay Will had 4 touchdowns. Alex had 2, but he had 211. He had 150. It's a great decision. I said, let the SEC decide that.
Well, they did, and it was Alex Collins that got the Offensive Player of the Week. Oh, but Jonathan Williams gets something better. He gets to be on our show coming up in a little bit.
Perfect.
So, see, there you go. What is the most impressive part? I'll start with the big lineman who's paved the way, right? The most impressive part of Arkansas's running attack.
Well, you don't want to say that it's plain, but there's not a ton of ball handling going on. Obviously, you're not overly concerned with the pass, although that secret, I'm sure, is going to be unleashed on all of us at some point in time, the passing attack. But in the meantime, the idea that defenses know what you're doing, I mean, once you've run it over 50 times, there's probably a good chance you're going to run it about 18 more times. And the fact that they're still not able to slow that thing down, that there's not a running quarterback, so you're not splitting your defense. You don't have 2 ball carriers in the backfield. Basically, it's we're going to line up and we're going to run the football at your defensive front, and we're going to ask you to stop us with your defensive front. And if you'd like to borrow from your secondary, why don't you go ahead and do that, because we're not going to throw it more than 19 times a game so far. The fact that they've had that success, and it's not all against Nicholls State. You know, they did this versus an Auburn defense. They did it versus Texas Tech from a Power 5 conference. That's what's impressive to me, Coach, is that you know what they're going to do, you can see what they're going to do, and then they do it, and it still works.
Well, there's nothing, I'm going to speak from a defensive perspective, because there's nothing more demoralizing than being able to line up against a team. They're telling you they're going to run it, and you can't stop it. And there's nothing more demoralizing to a defense. But I will say this. I was glad to hear in his press conference today that he's not cavalier about it. You know, he understands that he can't do that every game. This particular game, that was the formula to win. They outweighed Texas Tech's defensive line by probably 50 pounds a man. So he did what he had to do to win. The only concern that I would have going forward is that Brandon Allen has thrown 17 passes in 2 weeks. And when you have issues with timing and routes and chemistry, you got to worry about that. 3 receivers caught balls Saturday. They're going to have to throw the ball in this league, because this running the football down your throat is not new to the SEC.
You mentioned nothing is more demoralizing than. I'm going to throw out one possible thing.
Oh, yeah. I think
watch what Dan Skipper, 6'10" tackle for Arkansas, right there, does to this poor Raider. One arm, get out of here.
Go to sleep.
That'll hurt your feelings.
Another look. Yeah.
You know what? And what he's saying is, I tripped. I tripped a little.
That's what it was.
It was a bad seam in the turf right there.
Yeah. There is legitimate concern, though, with the unshowed passing attack. He says it's the best kept secret in Fayetteville. We'll see at some point.
Eventually, you got to let it out. You're going to have to let it out of just Fayetteville. And Coach is right. I think right now they're enjoying one of the shortest third and yardage situations that you can find, about 3rd and 5 and change. So you're still somewhat manageable at that point, Coach. They're getting off on 1st and 2nd down. Hey, good for you. But eventually, when you start lining up against a more stout defensive fronts that are going to actually challenge you, fronts that can play out wide and borrow from secondary, and it means something, I think at that point in time, you better have some level of threat in the other element of your offense, because as much as I like it, as much as it is literally hog heaven for an offensive lineman to do what they're doing right now, you realize you can't do that every single time. These running backs are going to realize very shortly that they can't just get the ball every single time. At some point, you're going to have to stretch a defense and complete some balls over their head.
Chemistry is not the same in practice as it is in a game. And if you don't have the chemistry with the wideouts and the quarterback, and again, the only way you can get that, you have to get it by throwing the ball more than 17 times in 2 games. And that would, again, be my worry. The bottom line is, in practice, it may look great, but he's got young receivers out there, and he's got a quarterback that you could still say is a young guy. I mean, what's he really proven right now throwing the ball?
He hasn't been a 50% passer in his career.
That is correct.
Yeah, coming in.
So, the running game is well noted, and every accolade they're getting right now, they deserve it, because they're mauling people. But that can't continue in this league.
All right, a bit later, in SEC Now. As I said, we'll go one-on-one with Arkansas's tailback Jonathan Williams. He had 4 rushing touchdowns. We'll ask him what Brett Bielema said after the game to his team, and why not ask him what he thinks of his team's passing game. All that coming up.